Have you guys ever seen something that's so terrible, you know deep down it shouldn't exist? That's Space Jam: A New Legacy. And no, I'm not kidding. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Matt Jarbo here at $3 Theater, and I'm not making up what I said just a few seconds ago. Space Jam: A New Legacy is a movie that shouldn't exist. If there was a God in heaven, and he was a righteous and just and loving God, Space Jam: A New Legacy wouldn't exist. This is a movie that, for all intents and purposes, is not even a movie. It's just a commercial. It's just, hey, Warner Brothers going, hey everybody, HBO Max has got all of this shit. Other than that, the movie is just pretty god-awful and terrible. But let me talk about what I liked about it first, because there were a couple things that I did enjoy with the film. So, to be fair, right off the bat, I did like LeBron James when I wasn't too certain if I would like him. I mean, when I say I like him, I kind of like him more towards like the climax of the movie, like the third act of the film. Up until then, he was phoning it all in, and the overacting was terrible and the dialogue was god awful. But when it got to the basketball stuff, the stuff that he's good at, he felt more at home. I think he felt more comfortable given, his work on the green screen at that point in time. And it ultimately was a bit better of a performance towards the end of the movie. Never mind, it was aided by the Looney Tunes, who I do like. I like all the Looney Tunes. I've never not liked the Looney Tunes. That was actually something I was looking forward to seeing with this movie, despite calling it a soulish cash grab, which it entirely is. I think it was Vox that called it an apocalyptic horror. I mean, you could have just thrown Cthulhu at any point in time in this movie, made it a little bit Lovecraftian, and that would have been a very apt saying. I liked LeBron. I liked the Looney Tunes. And that was kind of about it. I mean, like Zendaya as Lola, you knew it was Zendaya. So like that was whatever. Rosario Dawson voicing Wonder Woman was definitely cool because I didn't know if they were going to use Gal, but they use Rosario in the animated movies. So that was kind of a cool throwback. The Rick and Morty thing was what? Like Rick and Morty, and then even a big Chungus meme popped up in this thing. What the hell is going on? Like, is this movie written for kids or is it written for Redditors? Because all things considered, both are true. This is like Schrodinger's Space Jam at this point in time, because until we really open up that box and look inside to see whether or not LeBron's career is entirely dead on the inside, it is kind of everything is open for interpretation, or any reality is possible in this junction in time. The story of the movie is simple, all right, and it's even regurgitated to the point of where when we first meet Bugs Bunny, when LeBron explains the challenge, he literally deadpan breaks the fourth wall and just goes, "This seems familiar." And there's even a bit later on in the movie when they're like, "We need to get Michael A. Jordan," and instead they get Michael B. Jordan, which I will admit that made me chuckle, because I thought it was an interesting play on word, an interesting gag, and the fact that they got Michael B. Jordan to show up. And I like Michael B. Jordan a lot. I was like, all right, that was okay. I was still hoping for an actual Michael Jordan show up at the end, very similar to Bill Murray popping up at the end of Space Jam and helping out there. Have Michael Jordan pop up just randomly and have him be one of the people that gets sucked into the serververse due to that whatever inane plot device Don Cheadle's algorithm was putting out there. Don't even get me started. Look, Don Cheadle was nominated for an Emmy for appearing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier for 98 seconds. He is the antagonist of this movie, and it was one of the worst performances I have ever seen in my entire life. He will get nominated for, and he will win a Razzie, and it will be deserved. He may not understand why he got nominated for an Emmy. We will all know and understand why he got a Razzie. That was terrible. There's a line at the beginning when he's talking about I hate calling him King James, about LeBron. And he's like, he's a great athlete. He's a true social media star. Algorithmically speaking, he is the king. Like, seriously, that's a line in the movie. Algorithmically speaking, he is the king. And it makes you stop and just go, what the hell? Because what set up everything? Well, basically, like, he goes to Warner Brothers to hear a pitch for the Warner 3000, which is going to more or less digitize you and put you into your favorite Warner Brothers properties, like Game of Thrones, which you hear the theme song and there's Dragar. Harry Potter, where you hear the theme song and he's out there playing Quidditch and all this other stuff. And he goes like, this idea is stupid. It's actually not stupid. I actually really kind of like that idea, but because he called the idea stupid, Ali G, Algorithm G, whatever you want to call him, is just like, what? Are you living mind, James? Seriously, he gets mad that his idea was insulted, so he sucks him into the serververse and then his kid, in order to set up this basketball game that they have a day to establish everybody and then train, and then they fight. It's so weird. It's so weird. And like, Don Cheadle just oversells everything, and not in a good way. Like, I know he was trying to over the top it for like effect, but it was just terrible. Just terrible. LeBron, you could tell, was trying to keep up with what was happening, but even then, like, his terrible acting skills could not even keep a lot of, even as just when he was just doing voiceover work, when he was in the Toon World and meeting up with Bugs Bunny, and they went off to try to they went out to each of the different worlds and they tried to pull everybody back. They did go to Casablanca World to get Yosemite Sam, but they totally cut around the Pepe Le Pew aspect. And it probably wouldn't have been much to put in Pepe Le Pew, considering the fact that, they shot all the scene for it. And when they went to a lot of these different worlds, they were getting 2 or 3 of them at a time. You know what I mean? So the serververse really wasn't that big. It really wasn't that massive. They made it out to be this incredibly huge thing, the Warner serververse, and it really wasn't even that big. But going back to what I said about the whole plot about listening to an algorithm to come up with ideas, I'm like, it's literally Warner Brothers. Whoever wrote this movie, I didn't see who wrote it, but whoever wrote this movie had just watched the Osimo episode of South Park, and that is the algorithm. Like Rob Schneider or Adam Sandler falls in love with Adam Sandler, and that would have been a movie. That would have been an idea that this algorithm came up with. I mean, it's offensive how stupid this movie is. It's truly offensive. And who's it for? Now, the cameos were probably what I was most interested in overall. Like, when they went to DC World and you see that they're Batman and Robin, and you see, Superman, and you see Jimmy Olsen, and it's the Bruce Timm art. That's pretty cool. And then Superman saves the day, but that's, whatever. That was pretty cool. They go into the Matrix with Granny and Speedy. That was pretty cool. Like, there are things about it that I enjoyed on that particular front that weren't the worst things ever. But it was just soulless, and it had nothing surrounding it. It's like, also, for one, they went into Mad Max to get Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, which that was actually really cool. But I'm like, okay, so they went into, so they showed Game of Thrones, which is TVMA, definitely for not children. They went to, the Matrix world, which is an R-rated world, not for children. They went to Mad Max Fury Road, which is an R-rated world, not for children. They showed off a bunch of the villains like Pennywise and the Droogs and a bunch of other things that were in the forefront of the basketball scene, with all of the CG characters relegated to the back. So why was it terrible cosplay day and those guys were real, but all of the CG characters, like the Animaniacs sitting on Marvin the Martian ship, was actually pretty cool. And a few other things you see in the background. Why were all those in the back, but all of the terrible looking costumes and cosplay actors were the ones that you kept seeing close-up shots of? Nobody wants to see what like a third-rate Spirit Halloween Night King costume guy is looking like, with like 3 feet away from Don Cheadle. Like, it was like, what was going on here? It was so bad, you guys. It was so insanely bad. Now, I know people are going to sit there and go, but Matt, it's for children. But as I just pointed out, a lot of what they did, a lot of what they went to was in fact R-rated or mature properties. Having a Rick and Morty pop up in this, that's a TVMA, exceptionally mature content. That is something that wasn't even like a brief cameo. I mean, that was a cameo, but it wasn't like, a blink and you miss it sort of thing. Like, they each had lines of dialogue. They had to pay Justin Roiland a pretty penny to voice that, and probably to provide the animation. It was bad, you guys. It was bad. My 3-year-old and my 2-year-old, who I thought would get into it once the animation stuff started, no, they weren't into it at all. You know, and as a person who grew up playing basketball, you may look at me and go, come on, you played basketball. I played 3 years of basketball when I was a kid and 3 years of baseball while doing Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. I was pretty active as a kid, which is probably one of the reasons why the original Space Jam meant a lot to me, because it was Michael Jordan at his, you know, his career playing baseball and it not going very well. And I remember how that impacted me as a kid. And then at the end of Space Jam, he ends up going back to the Bulls. Number 23 is back in action. And that was like and then he had returned to the game of basketball. So there was connections. They wrote Space Jam to kind of mirror and mimic real life. This wasn't LeBron's kids. This was the whole thing about LeBron pushing his kids too hard. And his youngest son is like, I want to make a game. And the game he makes is kind of cool. But at the same time, like, this kid has got like a complete, like, he's got the ability to do scanning and mocap from his cell phone. It's just the technology. I know he's rich and he's affluent and they have things that I don't have or things I don't have access to. Sure. But you know, you have to suspend disbelief for what a 12-year-old kid is going to be able to make. And the whole thing was just, it was a mess. It was terrible. It was bad. It's soulless. It's garbage. It's a dumpster fire. There were elements of it that were entertaining. Watch it in clips. Watch like the basketball stuff. If you like basketball, you'll enjoy that. But again, it wasn't even real basketball. It was this new version of basketball based upon the Suns game, which again had no real explanation for what it was. Yeah, you knew what it was because they had shown it to you, but like the rules of the game didn't really make a lot of sense because they weren't playing for points. They were playing for style points. It just, my God, you guys. There's bad, and then there's Space Jam: A New Legacy. It is as bad as I thought it would be, and people out there are going to give me crap like, you just want to hate on this movie. No, I go into every movie wanting to be entertained. I have no desire to watch this again. And it even goes as far as to like undo bits of my love for Looney Tunes. That's how poorly they treated it. At least I've got the original Space Jam and like Looney Tunes back in action. And never mind all the original cartoons from way back in the day and when I was a kid that I can go back and watch and love. But this stuff shows you that this wasn't a movie. This was a commercial for HBO Max. And the thing is, so many kids are going to get suckered into seeing this and you know what? Like someone should be fired for this. Like not someone, like all the people should be fired for making this movie. LeBron James should come out and publicly apologize for making this movie. Don Cheadle should go like, I accept whatever Razzie Award they're going to give me. Like that is how bad this movie is. But as always, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your impressions. Let me know down in the comment section. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. And please, watch better movies than this shit.